Hey, how come Achilles didn't want to have kids? Because he couldn't risk having ankle biters around. Here's something you might not know about Persephone. The girl actually has two different names. When Persephone is above ground and with her mother Demeter, she's actually commonly referred to as Kore, which translates to young maiden or girl. But when she's the wife of Hades and the queen of the underworld, that's when she goes by the name Persephone. Because Persephone actually means bringer of death and destruction. Dang. It sounds to me like this girl's living a bit of a double life. She's got a whole personality that she does not want mommy to know about. Hey, here's something you might not know about Loki. I'm sure most of us know that in Norse myth, Loki pretty much ends up being one of the main villains, including during Ragnarok. But that's not the kind of character he was originally supposed to be. In the older Norse myths, Loki was mischievous, sure, but more like a chaotic good kind of way. He was the kind of god that the other Norse gods turned to for help when the normal way wasn't working and they needed something a little more untraditional. He wasn't evil, he was just kind of weird. But when Christian influence started to join the party, Loki's deceitful behavior was starting to be considered similar to that of the devil, and so people started to see him as more and more of a villain, and his stories, he started behaving more and more insidiously until he straight up murdered Balder, the most beloved Norse god. No coming back from that. Really goes to show just how much something can change based on how people see it. Poor guy, he's basically the victim of a smear campaign. Sir, we've got another message from a disgruntled soul. Okay, is this the kind of message I think it's going to be? Well, it comes from the Twitter, so yes. Yeah, that's what I thought. Just get it over with. Mr. Odin, I am very confused as to why my soul was not chosen to enter Valhalla, as I have spent nearly my entire life battling with people on the internet. I always go out of my way to attack and berate and insult anyone who does not share the exact same opinions that I do, and I spent every moment leading up to my death fighting with people on Twitter in order to ensure I could get into Valhalla. Yet now I find myself in Helheim and my actions are being criticized. Clearly there has been some kind of mistake. I am giving you one chance to correct it before I cancel you, as I always do to people who do anything I don't like. God, I hate this generation. Hey, here's something you might not know about Nyx. Nyx, the Greek primordial goddess of night, was apparently so powerful that even Zeus was kinda scared of her. Yeah, see, there's a story where one of her children, Hypnos, uses his powers against Zeus in order to put Zeus to sleep so that Hera can run one of her schemes behind his back. When Zeus finds out about this later, he gets furious and wants to punish Hypnos for betraying him and using his powers against him. But Hypnos runs straight to his mother Nyx, and once Zeus sees that, he does not want to risk pissing her off, so he just lets it go. And this is Zeus we're talking about, the most powerful of all the Olympians. He's not scared of anyone. He doesn't let anybody stop him from doing whatever crazy crap he wants to do in his everyday life. He defeated Kronos, who defeated the literal sky, and yet he's scared of Nyx. Man, let's just be glad she was never a villain in Greek mythology. Those would have been some very dark times. Literally. Fun fact! Have you heard of Hatshepsut, the great female pharaoh who was actually never supposed to be a pharaoh in the first place? Let me explain. See, when the pharaoh Thutmose II died, the next person in line was Thutmose III, his son. But he was only 2 years old at the time, so instead, his relative Hatshepsut took over until he came of age, and her bloodline was perfect because she had been the daughter/sister/wife of Thutmose I. Please don't ask. So, she was allowed to take over temporarily, and she actually did a fantastic job. She was smart and well-educated. She managed to improve the Egyptian economy, improve their trade routes, expand on their building projects, and make Egypt a better place. And she didn't forget Thutmose III either. She had him well-educated and trained for battle, so he would be a good pharaoh when he took over. But he'd have to wait his turn. She didn't relinquish the throne right away. She continued to rule for over 21 years until she died. Good for her. Hey, here's something you might not know about God of War. You know how in the latest game, Kratos almost never refers to his son by his actual name and instead just keeps calling him boy? Well, there's actually a reason for that. You see, during a good chunk of the time spent making this game, the development team still had not decided on an actual name for this kid. So when the time came to record dialogue between these two characters, they still hadn't made a decision. And so they just had Kratos call him boy in tons of the scenes. Man, way to work around your procrastination, guys. You know, I think we could all learn a thing or two from these people. Wait, so you guys have your own gods? Oh yeah, we got a whole lot of them. So, do you have gods of war and gods of wisdom and gods of trickery like we do? Dude, we totally do! Whoa! Hey, does your chief god go around compulsively banging every single thing that moves? No? Yeah, ours doesn't either. You know how Medusa and her Gorgon sisters all have wild snakes for hair? Guess you really can't help but wonder, does the carpet match the drapes? Hey, how come the Greek gods never have to buy shoes? Because they already have Nike. So if you're a god, how do you interact with your followers? Well, I just teach them how to live more fulfilling lives. And then you demand sacrifice? What? No! Ah, so you're the kind of guy who prefers to make them slave away building giant monuments to you. No. But you do encourage them to fight to the death in your name, right? I do not do that. Do you at least command them to rip the still-beating hearts out of the bodies of their own people as an offering to you? Oh, no! Well, surely you sleep with all of their women. No! What is wrong with you? Well, then what do you ask of them? Look, all I ask them to do is be kind to one another, be honest, and try to avoid judging people. That's all you ask of them? Yes. And they all do this? No, not really. Hey, here's something you might not know about Eros. Eros, also called Cupid, is very commonly known as the child of Aphrodite and Ares, but there are actually other versions of his story where he has different lineage. One of the most ancient Greek sources actually states that he was one of the first gods in Greek mythology. He was the primordial god of love and, well, procreation. There's even a story where his mother is Nyx, the primordial goddess of night and dark, and that he basically hatched from an egg that she created. You know, no wonder Greek love stories get so freaking dark most of the time. Their god of love literally came from darkness. So here's something about the first Percy Jackson movie that both baffles me and infuriates me a little bit. You know how the story of the lightning thief in both the movie and the book takes place during the days leading up to the summer solstice? And how in the movie they had the brilliant idea of having them encounter Persephone in the underworld. This means that Persephone is in the underworld in June. All the actors, writers, director, nobody noticed anything wrong with that? Man, they really did not give a fuck. Hey, here's something you might not know about God of War 3. The way that this game ended was not the only ending considered. In fact, there was one in particular that would have been really freaking insane. Apparently, one of the ending ideas was that after Kratos killed Zeus, suddenly the Egyptian gods and the Norse gods would show up to try to take over Greece and fill the new power vacuum. Then Kratos would discover that there were both Egyptian and Norse equivalents of him in each mythology, and he would team up with these two to wipe out all of the gods. Slaying all of the polytheistic gods would then lead to the birth of monotheism and the dawn of Christianity. Then Kratos and his two new buddies would end up becoming the three wise men from the Bible. Yeah, sure, why not? Imagine trying to explain all of that in Sunday school. Hey, yo mama's so fat, even Atlas can't lift her. Yo mama's so dumb, she booked the Sirens to sing at her birthday. Yo mama's so ugly, Hephaestus threw her off Mount Olympus. Yo mama's so big, she got across the river Styx without a boat. Yo mama's so old, she remembers when Zeus was still a virgin. Yo mama's so ugly, Athena's curse made her look better. Yo mama's so dumb, she thinks the Percy Jackson movies are better than the books. Hey, here's something you might not know about Heracles. When he was born, his name was actually not Heracles. He was given the name Alcaeus after one of his relatives. However, after the goddess Hera attempted to assassinate him when he was a baby and failed to do so, his name was changed to Heracles, which means glory to Hera. You're probably confused as to why that was done. Well, there are two possible different reasons for why. One being that it was done as a way to mock Hera because she had failed to assassinate him, which... yeah, that's a brilliant idea, guys. Let's make fun of the goddess who already wants us dead. This can only end positively. Another possible reason is that it was done as a way to appease Hera, to show respect, basically suck up to her and make her not want him dead anymore. This did not work. Honestly, I just feel bad for Heracles himself. After everything that happens in his story, I think the last thing he'd want is a name like Glory to Hera. Chief, we have a serious problem. There are colonizers here attempting to conquer our land. Oh, I wouldn't worry about that. They don't know this land like we do. Meanwhile... okay, status report. We finally managed to identify which of our soldiers were skinwalkers in disguise, but we lost a lot of resources doing so we might not be ready for the next time one of those giant horned snakes attacks the camp. We're running dangerously low on water because every time we try to get more, those Kalupalik monsters yank our men into the depths below. Our men haven't slept in days. How can we when we know that every night those giant owl witches are gonna come out and try to eat us? Alright, we successfully located our missing troops, or at least what was left of them. Looks like the Wendigos got to them first. Gentlemen, I think I speak for everyone when I say that I hate it here, and I want to go home! Hey, what do you call a transsexual Greek god? Hermaphrodite. What do you call a transsexual Norse god? Loki. Fun fact. Does the day March 15th sound familiar or significant to any of you? Well, it might, because that day is very often used as a bad day in movies and TV shows like Fairly Odd Parents, The Simpsons, Back to the Future, and several others. And there is a reason for this. You see, March 15th is also referred to as the Ides of March, and it is particularly famous for being the day when Julius Caesar was stabbed to death by his own senators. Yeah, rough day. Sometime later, William Shakespeare wrote a play about Caesar's death, and he called it Beware the Ides of March. Ever since then, that term has caught on, and March 15th has been referred to as a day when bad things happen. So I'm sorry if it's your birthday today. That must feel weird.